What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Total Takedown. And we are a little bit late tonight. I put out a tweet earlier. Mama Diehard was in town. Had to show her the town. Had to take her out to dinner. Have a nice evening. So we are a little bit late coming to you, but we weren't going to miss out talking on our totals for UFC 294. Big time. Let's go. This is Pub Sports Radio. We're talking overs and unders. Let's just get straight on into it. By the way, go Coyotes. They won for me. Let's go. First fight of the evening. We've got Shara Magomedov taking on Bruno Silva. Total set at 1.5 for this one. Over is -120. Under is -110. And it's tough with these 1.5s. I kind of lean ever so slightly to that over at -120 on this one. We have seen Bruno go tooth and nail with some of these high-class opposition. We've seen Shara do absolutely nothing so far in the UFC. Everyone's hyped on him. We're all excited. Great footwork. Excellent kicker. But this is still the big show. This is still his first chance up here at a new level. And while I do think he gets by Bruno Silva, and I think the UFC is putting him here in a spot to succeed, we still have to actually see him be competitive at this level before we can count on him, round one KOing somebody like Bruno. So I'm going to say over 1.5, zero confidence on that play. Next up, you've got Victoria Dudakova taking on Jinyu Fray. 2.5 the total. Over is chalked at -195. You can get the under around +150, +160. And we all think Dudakova is absolutely going to roll here. Jinyu Fray is too small and she is past her due date. But again, similar to the last fight, this is a big step up in competition. This is her first time going against a fighter with this level of experience. Her first time going up against a fighter who's been at the UFC level for this long. So there could be some struggles. There could be some issues. Jinyu Fray, the durability has started to chip away just a little bit. She still has that big left hand, although she ain't finishing anybody right now. I have a hard time seeing her finish Dudakova. It all comes down to, will Dudakova find the sub or TKO on Jinyu Fray? Her striking is still very much a work in progress. I don't know that she's going to knock out Jinyu Fray unless she's made rapid advancements, or it's a ground and pound TKO. The other option, obviously, most, notably, is going to be the submission here. And I think if it comes late. I would be tempted on that over 2.5, but with the offense of Dudakova, I am too scared to lay -190. So it's a pass for me, but I'll say over for the sake of the show. Next up, Nathaniel Wood takes on Naov. 2.5. Over is -165. Under 2.5. +130. I kind of am tempted on the under here, but it breaks all of our rules. As we know, we've got to have both fighters contributing to our under if we're going to bet one, and we just don't have that here. Wood is tough. Wood is durable. He's not really much of a finisher. He's really a decisionator. Naimov, he is durable as shit. So even if he is on the losing side of some of these situations, he is going to hang around. He is going to be there. He has the offensive firepower to end the fight in one shot, though. And we've seen Nathaniel Wood get a little over-aggressive. We've seen Nathaniel Wood walk into big bombs, and I do think there's a chance that Naimov clips him and puts him down. However, I think this is time for, from a totals perspective, you got to go Old Faithful. Nathaniel Wood by decision, so it's probably an over 2.5 that ends up hitting in this spot, because if you're going to play something, get a better number, go Naimov by KO. That's really the only way I see this fight not making it the full 15. Mike Breeden takes on Jubli up next, and we do have a 1.5. Oddly, though, because we're chalked all the way up to -200 at 1.5, normally they would reset it at a 2.5 and give you a more competitive number there. So they do think this one is getting up and over the 1.5 round mark. I think with the way Jubli fights, that makes a ton of sense. Lots of takedowns, lots of ground and pound, but he's got to secure that top position first. Breeden, he's tough to get down early, but if you keep attacking, he will eventually fall to those takedowns. He's a durable guy. He's got a good gas tank. He's got volume striking. He's not a one-hitter quitter type, so I do think this one gets up and over that 1.5. With these two guys, though, super low level, some durability questions on Breeden. No way am I laying -200 on an over here. You've got Abu Aitahar taking on Cedric Dumas in the next fight. 1.5 the total. Over is -160. Under 1.5 is +124, 125. And again, I think I would go with kind of the chalk and the over here. I'm huge on Cedric Dumas. I think Cedric Dumas is going to absolutely roll in this spot. But we know Aitahar is tough, he is durable, and as long as that gas tank lasts, he's going to keep on coming forward. Marc-Andre Barrios, loved the guy. He's not the most potent finisher in the world, but it took him all the way deep until the third round of that fight to be able to get him out of there. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. I do think Cedric Dumas can find his way to a submission probably a little bit quicker than you're going to break this guy down with power shots, but what we've seen from Cedric is that he does like to play the range game. He does like the head kick. kick. He likes the teep. He likes to play the outside, keep his distance. So I think this one gets up and over the 1.5, and we see a late second round or an early third round finish once you've got Aitahar completely out of gas. Javid Basharat takes on Victor Henry up next. Total set at 2.5. The over minus 280. Lots of chalk on this over here, and that's Javid Basharat, baby. This guy knows how to take his opponents apart, and he does it over the course of time. Victor Henry, incredibly durable, very, very difficult to finish and get out of there. Nobody's been even close to doing it so far at the UFC level. So this makes sense because really Basharat is not a guy who's known for his finishing prowess. So it sets up very nicely for an over 2.5. That's the pick. Muhammad Yaya takes on Trevor Peek. We got a 1.5 here. This one's juiced minus 130 to the under, and that makes a whole lot more sense to me here. Yaya, not UFC level whatsoever. You could say the same thing about Trevor Peek. The one thing we do know about Trevor Peek, his offense is relentless and his durability is UFC level. So that's the problem. The way he assists here is that offense. His durability is going to make this thing go over if he's on the receiving end of a beating, but I kind of think we're going to see a car crash till one of these guys goes down. Yaya can be finished, has been finished, big step up, first time at a new level. Trevor Peek, he's been here, he took his beating, he went a full 15 minutes. I don't think this one's going 15. And Trevor Peek's getting the finish. I'll say under 1.5. Tim Elliott takes on Muhammad Mokaev up next. The return of the knee. Muhammad Mokaev, 2.5. Over is minus 165. Under 2.5 plus 130 plus 140 in that ballpark. And I am very, very tempted on this under. The problem is, again, it breaks all of our rules. So Muhammad Mokaev, this kid is durable beyond belief. He refuses to tap. He refuses to give up on himself. So if it's going under, it's probably not going under because he gets finished. Tim Elliott, his weakness, his Achilles heel has always been the submissions. He's a great grappler. He's an excellent scrambler. And when he gets in those transitions, every once in a while, you can catch this guy. I think that's what happens here. It sets up very nicely because that's really Mokaev's bread and butter. This kid is an amazing wrestler. He's a chain grappler, and he's got some nasty submission offense. No striking really to speak of. So if this thing ends, it's gonna be a sub from Muhammad Mokaev. If it doesn't get, if Tim Elliott's neck doesn't get caught, this thing probably goes to full 15, right? So I am fully expecting if the under hits, it's a one-sided under. I'm gonna go with Mokaev. I'll break the rules on this one. We'll say under 2.5 at plus 130. Saeed Nurmagomedov takes on Muin Gafurov up next. This one's another 2.5. with the over being minus 125. So a little bit more reasonable to get up and over this 2.5. And I think that kind of makes sense because Muin Gafurov has shown us that he's nothing if not durable. This guy drags the fights late, he throws those spinning wheel kicks, and after he takes absolutely everything you've got to offer, then he starts turning it up once you're tired. Saeed Nurmagomedov, this guy will keep his distance, he'll wrestle when he needs to, he'll pick and poke from the outside, but if you leave your neck out there, he will absolutely snatch that bad boy. So there could be a sub from Saeed Nurmagomedov, there could be a KO from Muin Gafurov, but either way it happens late. I'm going to say over 2.5, but that minus 125, it just has got me a little bit nervous. It's a playable price. It's the kind of price you want when you're playing an over, but I worry about this one. Something's keeping me off of this one. I'm not going to make that an official play. That's the pick for the sake of the show. I will not be betting the over 2.5 in this spot. Next up, you've got Ikram Aliaskhabov taking on Warlley Alves. 1.5 the total, all the way down to minus 190 is this under 1.5, and that makes perfect sense. Warlley Alves wins every single fight in the first round. If he's winning it, it's over early, and if he loses it, usually he's getting finished in the second round. So I fully believe that this is going to be a barn burner of a match, and Aliaskhabov is either going to nuke Warlley Alves, or Alves is going to catch him with that big body kick and put him down because he's broken a couple of ribs. Next up, Magomed Ankalaev takes on Johnny Walker. And we've got a 1.5. Over 1.5 is minus 165. Under 1.5 will be plus 130, plus 140 in that ballpark yet again. And Johnny Walker used to be an under machine, used to be a round one monster. But he's finally decided to protect that chin just a little bit. And now that he's protecting his chin, he's making sure his fights get extended a little bit more. That, I don't know if it's going to work against Ankalaev. He does have massive height and reach advantages. He always has that nuclear option if he wants to try and finish the fight early to put some effort forth and get the fight out of there. However, Ankalaev does have that type of offense as well, that if Johnny overextends, I could see him going to sleep very, very quickly. I've got a feeling this one starts a little bit slow, but once it gets going, I'm not entirely sure it slows back down. It's going to be right on the line for me. I'll say over 1.5. but I don't like it even a little bit. Kamaru Usman takes on Khamzat Chimaev in your co-main event here on Saturday. 2.5 the total. Under is -165. So we're thinking there's a finish here on this one. But again, how does Usman finish Khamzat Chimaev? And it's crazy to think about that, right? Like, this is the greatest of all time 170-pounder. This guy was knocking people out left and right. If you tuned into Monday's podcast, I've already poked holes in his resume. He's been fighting people who are a whole lot smaller than him, people who are older than him, people who probably don't belong at this level or at the weight class to begin with. Those are the people that Usman really has been sinking his teeth into. Now he takes on Khamzat, a guy who's on the rise, who's got offense like we've never seen before, who's a much larger opponent here. He's moving up to 185 to face him. And he's fallen apart. Yeah, he's got the knee thing going on, but his durability was slipping a little bit before that. I think this is Khamzat's fight to win, and I do think he finishes. I think if Usman is going to win this fight, he's going to need to get the finish himself. So we'll say under 2.5, -165. Main event time, you've got Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander Volkanovski, the rematch. Can't wait for this fight. 4.5 the total, -110 both sides. All under, baby. I already played Fight Does Not Go the Distance. I got -120 on that line. I'm buying those extra 2.5 minutes just to be safe. The last time I played it under 4.5, somehow the fight ended in that window of over 4.5 and Fight not going the distance. That's the kind of luck that I've got. Somehow I find a way to lose those spots. So I'm playing Fight Doesn't Go the Distance here. We've seen this fight play out once. It went the full distance. It was a lot of back and forth. We are going to see an improved version of Islam Makhachev because he's gone 5 rounds now. He didn't have that the last time they fought. The experience, that's going to be something invaluable to a kid like that. Someone who's never had that before. He's just going to be better coming back into this fight. On top of that, he's well trained. He had a full camp, ready for a dangerous opponent. And the opposite is true for Volkanovski. He's coming off the couch. He's heavier than he's ever been before and then had to cut down to this weight. I think he's going to be dangerous early. He's talking about how he's going to be dangerous. He's coming in with a finishing mindset. I absolutely believe Volkanovski starts fast, and I think that leaves little wiggle room for either of these guys to get the full 25 minutes, because if they're starting fast, if they're starting dangerous, if they're looking for the finish, they're both looking to put a stamp on this rivalry. Volkanovski wants his second belt. Islam wants to never see Volkanovski ever again. I think somebody's getting finished. Doesn't go the distance, under 4.5. That's the move in your main event, and that one's actually a bet that I have made. That's the total takedown, everybody. Tune in tomorrow for the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show, and of course, the Sharp Action Report. Have a wonderful night, and good luck. Let's go.